In 11 days, Hamas fired more than 4,000 rockets into south and central Israel that sent millions of Israelis running for shelter. In response, Israel launched a massive and surgical bombing campaign to stop those rockets. Despite devastating damage to its military infrastructure, Hamas and its supporters took to the streets and declared victory.
Netanyahu, the Zionist enemy, and his army said that they would destroy the tunnels above our resistance. And I tell him today that our fighters are now striding proudly in the tunnels.
Iran supplied many of the rockets to Hamas, and in Tehran, the head of Iran's Revolutionary Guard boasted a new Palestine has emerged. In a live address, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the nation,
"The only thing that leads me in making decisions is the security and safety of the Israeli people. If there was a need to enter Gaza with ground troops, we would have done it, but I believed we could accomplish our goals without doing so."
U.S. President Joe Biden pressured Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to stop the fighting.
I commended him for the decision to bring the current hostilities to a close within less than 11 days. I also emphasize what I've said throughout this conflict. The United States fully supports Israel's right to defend itself.
Yet in Israel, nearly 3/4 of Israelis felt the ceasefire came too soon, without eliminating Hamas's ability to wage war. Hamas's charter calls for the destruction of Israel, and Islamic expert Dr. Mordecai Kadar told CBN News that for Hamas, the 11-day conflict was a jihad, a holy war, and Israel was on the front lines. Kadar says while the West may look on this as a ceasefire, Hamas sees this through the eyes of the Arabic concept of hudna.
Means a temporary ceasefire, which is used by the jihadists in order not to start a course of peace, but in order to regain his power, in order to have a better jihad in the next phase.
Israeli leaders now go back to trying to form a government. Even though most Israelis felt the war ended too soon, many approve of how Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu handled the crisis, so he may yet survive the challenge to his leadership. And it's possible Israelis will also end up heading to the polls once again, the 5th time in just more than 2 years. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.